Dear Minister Yesilgos, Commissioner Reinders, Prosecutor General Kostin, ICC Prosecutor Mr. Khan, Assistant Attorney General Pollitt, distinguished guests. It's an honor to welcome you to Eurojust on this important occasion. Today, we are launching the International Center for the Prosecution of the Crime of Aggression. This center is a symbol of our unwavering commitment to the rule of law and the crucial next step in our joint efforts to end impunity. Together, we are showing the citizens of Ukraine and the rest of the world that there will be no exception when holding perpetrators of international crimes accountable for their actions. We would not be here today if it was not for the close cooperation between countries and organizations represented in this room. It has been a privilege to work side by side with you on making this groundbreaking initiative happen. So before we continue, I would like to thank each of you for your important role in this international partnership. Minister Yesilgos, as well as colleagues from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, for the excellent support we have received from the Netherlands as our host state. Thank you so much. The Commissioner, for his strong political leadership. Prosecutor General Kostin, for showing us the true meaning of the words resilience and determination. Prosecutor Khan, for his vision and cooperative approach. Assistant Attorney General Pollitt, for being our loyal transatlantic ally in the fight against impunity. And the last but not least, the Prosecutors General of the countries participating in the ICPA, for their support and the trust they have wasted in Eurojust. So big thank you to everyone who is in this room, because I keep saying this is a true international effort. Now I would like to invite Minister Yesilgos to take the floor. Minister, please.
Thank you so much. President Hamran, Commissioner Reinders, Prosecutor General Kostin, Prosecutor Khan, and of course Assistant Attorney General Pollitt, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the host country, the Netherlands, I'd like to welcome you all to The Hague, to the international city of peace and justice. Unfortunately, due to urgent circumstances, I can't stay till the end of this meeting, and I am truly sorry for that. I apologize. But I'll be leaving you in the capable hands of our excellent host, of course, President Hamran. We have come together today for the launch of the International Center for the Prosecution of the Crime of Aggression against Ukraine, or ICPA. The staff of the center, ranging from prosecutors to subject matter experts, deserve our full support as they begin their work. Together, we are determined to ensure that the persons responsible for Russia's aggression in Ukraine are prosecuted. We've seen attacks targeting civilians in cities like Kramatorsk, Bucha, and Zaporizhzhia. And the recent horrific destruction of the Kakhovka Dam has terrible consequences for both people and nature. The executions, torture, sexual violence, and the destruction of everything that's important to Ukrainians would not have taken place without the Russian invasion, and therefore they follow directly from the crime of aggression. The truth must be uncovered, and that requires extensive and complex investigation. So basically, the ICPA's mission is to support the existing joint investigations team and to do as much preparation as possible. That will lay the foundation for prosecuting and trying those who are responsible for the effects of Russia's aggression. The Netherlands is very pleased to be hosting the ICPA. I can't think of a better place for the center than here at Eurojust, with its facilities to support the joint investigation team and its special database for evidence on core international crimes. It is no coincidence that Eurojust is located here in The Hague. Work on peace and justice forms a very large part of this city's role and character, and this has a long history. Here in The Hague is where one of the world's greatest jurists, Hugo Grotius, began his career at the end of the 16th century. Earlier this year, I had the great pleasure of seeing the impressive Grotius collection at the Peace Palace Library, just a 15-minute walk from here. And it was quite moving to see with my own eyes the first edition of On the Law of War and Peace, published in Latin in 1625. That work by Grotius is considered to be the foundation of modern-day international law. So the Peace Palace Library is a treasure trove for scholars, researchers, and many others, because it contains both priceless books and valuable current information. It is very useful for the ICPA that the library has collected so much information about Ukraine's past and present in the light of international law. It also contains a lot of information on the crime of aggression and other international crimes. And this is just one example of the many institutions here in The Hague that can inspire and assist the ICPA in its work. The same is, of course, true for Europol and International Criminal Court, both also nearby. The Netherlands is very keen to contribute to the ICPA's mission and provide active support wherever possible. Your presence here today shows how important the ICPA's work is. Along with many other ongoing efforts, it will help ensure that justice will become a reality for Ukraine and the Ukrainians. Anything less would be unacceptable. So, ladies and gentlemen, in his work on international law, Hugo Grotius asked, what is just and what is unjust? And how do you make that determination? That makes him a source of knowledge and inspiration for me, and hopefully for many of you too. We are connected to him, and I think we owe him a great deal, because his search for justice continues with us today. And I have every confidence that ICPA, with support from Eurojust, will make a crucial contribution. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Minister, for your welcoming words. Again, we really appreciate all the support we received from the host state. Now, the next speaker is Commissioner Reynders, who will be speaking about the EU efforts to ensure accountability for the Russian war of aggression against Ukraine. Please.
Thank you, and dear friends, Dylan, Ladislav, Andrei, Karim, Kenneth, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very proud to be here with you today to mark the official launch of the International Center for the Prosecution of the Crime of Aggression against Ukraine. Today's launch constitutes a first important step towards ensuring that the perpetrators of the international crimes committed in Ukraine are held accountable. Today's launch concludes numerous months of hard work between the Commission, Eurojust, the Joint Investigation Team members, in particular the Ukrainian Prosecutor General's Office, the government of the Netherlands, and the US Department of Justice. In this context, I would like to thank particularly President Amran for his extraordinary efforts to make this launch possible by ensuring that Eurojust can house and provide the necessary services to the ICPA. I would also like to express special gratitude to the EU Service for Foreign Policy Instruments for providing what is important, the funding for the kick-off phase of the ICPA. Ultimately, I would like to thank the Attorney General of the United States for appointing a special prosecutor for the crime of aggression, thereby making one of their experts available in support of the ICPA's activities. But let there be no mistake. What brings us together here today is all but a festive occasion to celebrate our achievements. If we are gathered here today, it is because we want to reaffirm our common conviction that the most serious violations of international law that are of concern to the international community as a whole may not go unpunished. To achieve this goal, we need to make sure that evidence of these atrocities is collected, preserved, and analyzed in an efficient and coordinated manner. This will be the essence of the ICPA's work. The Center will provide a structure to support and enhance the investigations into the crime of aggression against Ukraine within the existing legal framework. It will furthermore support national authorities in securing evidence and building case for future trials, be it before national authorities, a possible future dedicated tribunal, or the International Criminal Court for crimes within its jurisdiction. We are taking steps while Russia's illegal war against Ukraine continues. May this even serve us as a reminder that while the ICPA's taking up of duties is therefore a crucial step in our commitment to end impunity, our efforts cannot and should not stop here. To achieve full accountability, justice actors at national, supranational, and international level need to be enabled to fulfill their task at full capacity and cooperate efficiently. The European Union is fully committed to supporting these key actors through a variety of initiatives. We have done so together with our member states by significantly increasing financial contributions to the International Criminal Court. Since the beginning of the invasion, member states have supported the ICC with over 8 million euros, and 47 national experts have been seconded to the court. The Commission currently supports the Office of the Prosecutor of the ICC with over 7 million euros. Through this sustained support, we ensure that the ICC has the necessary resources to address the situation in Ukraine as well as other crises. But we should also not forget that the majority of perpetrators of international crimes will have to be tried at national level. The Union's support to the Office of the Ukrainian Prosecutor General is therefore essential. We provide such support through various initiatives, through secondment of teams of forensic experts from the member states, or support to justice sector reforms and digitalization in Ukraine, or the European Union Advisory Mission to Ukraine, to name just a few examples. Let me also use this opportunity to highlight the key role performed by Eurojust when it comes to the coordination of and support to national investigations since the very beginning of Russia's war of aggression. Eurojust supported the establishment and continues to support the work of the Joint Investigation Team, whose members are present here today and who have signed this morning an amended Joint Investigation Team agreement to further accommodate the ICPA in taking up its duties. Last year, we amended the Eurojust regulation to extend Eurojust's mandate to preserving, analyzing, and storing evidence relating to international crimes. I'm also pleased to announce that as of today, the core international crimes evidence database in which such evidence can be stored is operational. I would also like to briefly mention the role of Europol, which will support the Joint Investigation Team in the future. Its involvement will only further strengthen the Union's strong support to the JIT. Ultimately, the European Union also supports several international efforts to coordinate accountability efforts. To be concrete, a key initiative in this respect is the Dialogue Group, which provides an international platform for coordination between accountability actors. Let me also highlight the work of the Atrocity Crimes Advisory Group, a unique multilateral partnership between the United States, the United Kingdom, and the European Union to support the Ukrainian Prosecutor General's Office investigations into international crimes. Looking more specifically at the crime of aggression, we have seen broad international support that those who bear responsibility for this crime cannot enjoy impunity. Looking ahead, further discussions will be necessary to ensure that also perpetrators of this specific crime are held accountable. In this regard, the Commission and the High Representative and Vice President of the Commission fully support ongoing efforts to create a dedicated mechanism to prosecute the crime of aggression. To conclude, I believe that the variety of measures I have just outlined show that it is only through a joint and comprehensive approach to accountability that we can ensure that justice is served. It is clear that the ICPA is only one small but vital piece of the puzzle to ensure accountability. The Centre will act as a much-needed complementary addition to the already existing framework on accountability. Most importantly, however, the ICPA is to function as a living example of the EU's strong commitment to stand with Ukraine and its people for as long as it takes. We have said from the beginning that we will support Ukraine with a military support, with financial assistance, with the way to receive in the best possible conditions the refugees on our soil, but we have also two other goals, and I want to conclude with that. The first one is to bring all the perpetrators of international crimes, including the crime of aggression, before justice, and the second one is to be sure that Russia will pay for the reconstruction and also for the compensation of damage caused by the Russian aggression against Ukraine. Thank you for your presence today, for your efforts, and we are starting a new step in such a way to bring perpetrators of the crime of aggression before justice. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. The list of different initiatives and activities you just mentioned is a testimony of your commitment to the principle of rule of law, which is embedded in EU's DNA. The next speaker is our dear friend and partner from Ukraine, Prosecutor General Andriy Kostin. Please, Andriy.
Thank you. President Hamran, Minister Yesilgos, Commissioner Reinders, Prosecutor Khan, Assistant Attorney General Polit, Prosecutors General, Ambassadors, my dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. Russia's full-fledged invasion of Ukraine and its continuous use of force against sovereignty, territorial integrity, and political independence that threatened Ukraine's very existence is an act of aggression in violation of the Article 2 of the UN Charter and falls squarely into the definition of aggression under Article 8 bis of the Rome Statute. One of the prosecutors, US prosecutors at Nuremberg Tribunal, Benjamin Ferencz, referring to the crime of aggression, back then known as a crime against peace, said that this crime is itself the worst of all crimes, that spawns all of the other crimes. We witness this in Ukraine. Russian aggression opened the floodgate for 100,000 of other international crimes: sexual violence, targeted killing of civilians, torture, forcible displacement of civilians, including of children, looting, and all others. Russia's atrocious aggression is not only against Ukraine. It stands as a global threat to peace, a global threat to peace, security, and stability, a peril for rule-based order that needs to be stopped. But halting it on a battlefield will and cannot suffice. Seeking accountability for aggression and atrocities committed is and should be a central pillar of Ukraine's, the world's, response to Russia. There is unfortunately a gaping hole in accountability for the crime of aggression in international criminal justice architecture. Due to legal constraints and the way the 2010 aggression amendment to the Rome Statute is drafted, the ICC cannot investigate this crime in our case. Beyond this, no effective mechanism exists to ensure Russian leadership is held accountable for the crime of aggression. It is rather legally ludicrous that soldiers and their commanders on the ground could be accountable for war crimes, but their leaders, the ones that masterminded and ordered the commission of the original act that enabled other crimes, not. Civilized world cannot leave unresponded calculated attempts of Russia to challenge democratic world order and impose its hegemony in an unruly manner. Moreover, as noted by the International Court of Justice, neither should jurisdictional immunity amount to impunity. Hence, in this challenging setting, accountability for the supreme international crime, as labeled in Nuremberg, is what matters in the first place. It is therefore imperative to streamline international accountability efforts, a competent and effective legal response which will bring justice as well as will serve as deterrence. By doing this, we will reinforce the prohibition of aggression, which is the keystone of the UN Charter system. Ensuring that this crime of aggression, which is egregious violation of international law, does not go unpunished is our common legal, moral, and political responsibility. And today, by launching the International Center for the Prosecution of the Crime of Aggression, we bring ourselves one step closer to achieving this goal and closing accountability gap. We are developing a foundation and laying down initial building blocks on which we will edify our future columns of accountability. Developing advanced cooperation mechanism to facilitate national judicial investigations into the crime of aggression will boost the capacity of those investigations in JIT member states to build cases of the crime of aggression. Through the hosting of national authorities at Eurojust, the ICPA will build synergies on international level, allowing for concentrating the expertise on the documenting of the crime of aggression, designing and implementation of the common investigative and prosecution strategy, as well as storing, evaluating, analyzing, and exchanging evidence gathered. The Center is the first of its kind that on one hand will give us stable and functional framework to strengthen our common efforts in documenting and investigating unprecedented aggression and violation of the prohibition of the use of force by Russia. Simultaneously, we all, through it, shall contribute to strengthening the functionality of international law and believe in it, something that in the last decade has been deteriorating drastically, and something that we all need more than ever before. Justice fosters and ensures peace. Our united response as the international community and readiness to work together to support investigations into the mother of all crimes depicts our preparedness to allow the arm of justice to reach all planners, all designers, all inciters, and all leaders of the crime against peace that has threatened not only Ukraine's sovereignty and freedom, but stability and functionality of international security and legal system. In this regard, I wish to express my gratefulness to Eurojust and President Hamran for housing of the ICPA at Eurojust premises and to prepare everything for this to be happen. Prosecutors General of the member states of JIT for your readiness and eagerness to stand with Ukraine in investigating heinous international crimes. European Union and Commissioner Reynders for everything you did to make it happen. And we fully believe that you stand with us and with ICPA and with Eurojust, with ICC, whatever it will be possible. Of course, the United States and International Criminal Court, Karim, and the government of Kingdom of Netherlands for supporting not only by words but by actions all our endeavors to ensure full accountability for all crimes and harm committed by Russians. International law needs to reflect and respond to the modern day realities. The greatest catastrophes and disasters often pave the way to creative solutions for overcome stalemates. And today is exactly such an occasion. We are placing novel touchstone in the criminal justice architecture that will have lasting influence and result. Launching of the International Center for the Prosecution of the Crime of Aggression sends a clear message that the international community will not set aside, but rather it took matters into its own hands in order to secure accountability for the crime of aggression. Thank you, my dear friends, for your attention.
Thank you so much, Andrei, for your powerful statement. And I think that we all in this room feel that we are witnessing extraordinary times, a really, truly historic event. Thank you so much for being here with us. And the next speaker is a great partner of Eurojust. And thank you being such a good partner, Karim, is Mr. Karim Khan, who will address you now.
Well, dear Ladislav, thank you for inviting us and for convening this session. And really, dear friends, it's a somber moment, but a moment of consequence, I believe, that we are trying to take the law off the pages. The Minister of Justice that has just left talked about Hugo Grotius and his contribution to the development of international law in the 16th century. And of course, that's to be applauded. It was visionary, it's substantive, and it remains relevant. But we can't lose sight of the fact that jurisprudence in the 16th century didn't prevent the wars of the 17th, 18th century or to today. And this quest to make the law relevant to people that continue to suffer the misery of international crimes that should be rendered extinct is something that should be very much within our gaze. On the periphery of society as a function of life, unfortunately, there will always be different types of crimes. But we must surely get to a stage in our development as a species where the crimes of genocide, crimes against humanity, war crimes, and indeed of aggression are prohibited if we're to ensure the survival of humanity and to develop in the way that we want. It was just over a year ago in April when the ICC, for the first time in its history, joined the JIT, the Joint Investigative Team, with Eurojust. And I did so for many reasons. It was the kind invitation and collegiality of the President, Ladislav Hamran, and all of you to invite us in, and the realization that with the many different independent, impartial prosecutor generals that make up the JIT and the national prosecutors that are here in Eurojust, that there is not a tension or a trade-off between independence, impartiality, and cooperation. Because what must bind us as a species, what must bind us as Eurojust, but all nations that cherish legality, is a world in which there is more justice and less impunity. Now, that imperative of partnership that underpinned the decision in April of last year remains evident today. And this is why this moment of the announcement and launch of the International Centre for the Prosecution of the Crime of Aggression is an important one. Because if we don't preserve evidence, it can never be used in any proceedings. And the Joint Investigative Team, which already is operating, has already made a difference. It's not only improved communication between my office and I think the other JIP members, it's led to the more nimble, more effective and more prompt identification of witnesses so their accounts can be collected and be used with the fundamental realization that the types of crimes that come within the Rome Statute can't be dealt with by one national authority alone. Ukraine has a critical part, and all national authorities, all of us, all of you, have an important part regulated by domestic law and jurisprudence. And I think this ability to segue from the Joint Investigative Team into the ICPA is one that will only serve us more effectively. As was mentioned, we don't have at the ICC, whilst the crime of aggression has been activated, there are jurisdictional requirements, and it may well be the case that this is a wake-up moment that may lead some states to seek an amendment of the Rome Statute. Now, that's for others to decide. We're simple lawyers. I'm a simple lawyer. We apply the law that we're given. But if we don't collectively preserve it, if we don't plot it, if we don't understand it, the prospect of accountability for that crime becomes is massively diminished. I think it's only right, if I may, to acknowledge the tremendous contribution, Ladislav, of you as president of Eurojust. I think from the outset in international organizations, sometimes even in domestic departments of a national authority, sharp elbows become the order of play, that this is my area, this is your area, don't trespass. But I think your willingness to work and expand the number of actors makes really your term, your tenure as president of Eurojust one of really a very important significance indeed. Didier, I think I've said it before, but I will keep on saying it. I think your leadership as the EU Commissioner for Justice has been pivotal, because it's helped bind us together, respecting due process, respecting the fact that at the end of the day, independent judges will review whatever we present, but trying to work not against each other, but flowing in the same direction, which is to vindicate the rights of people that are not in this room today, but who are sheltering from bombs and bullets, or who are mourning the loss of loved ones, or who are fearful for crimes that are ongoing as we speak. And I think this is the important moment here. And I think, as you've said repeatedly, Didier, that we need to do better around the world, because every human life matters. But if we fail here, I think we'll fail everywhere. If we fail in the Ukraine situation, we'll fail everywhere. But if we do better here, we also must do better everywhere else as well. Dear Andre, I think your own role is absolutely essential. The courage that you have shown, your members of your team, and the men and women in Ukraine on the front line that are trying their best to collect evidence in line with international standards, that are working very closely with the men and women of my office that are with you in Ukraine, is really, tremendous. And I think we're very lucky also to have you with this collegial approach, respecting complementarity and the national sovereignty of Ukraine, but realizing that we can partner far better. And this partnership encompasses everybody, everywhere. The Commissioner mentioned the dialogue group. And we had our first meeting, the kickoff of the dialogue group, just a few days ago, which is co-chaired by the Prosecutor General and myself. And moving forward, and also last week, we jointly received an award, the publication that was produced by Eurojust, the Genocide Network, and my office, in terms of civil society guidelines. So this simply puts into stark relief a fundamental reality that everybody owns justice. Justice matters to everybody in the same way as the air we breathe and the water we drink and the natural environment. And we need to build partnerships without apology, realizing that we're all independent, we all have to be objective. But there's no room for spectators when too many of our children and brothers and sisters around the world are suffering in the way that they're suffering moving forward. And dear Kenneth, can I say it's a real pleasure and privilege to see that the United States of America is represented at such a high level, that the United States has joined also as a participant in the JIT and also the ICPA. And this is something I've said since before I was elected. State parties or non-state parties alike, JIT members or non-JIT members, these are functions, these are formalities, they have certain benefits, they have certain consequences, but we need to do better to make sure that the law we apply in our national authorities and at the ICC, which are dealing with the worst type of offences that have fallen within the wit of man, overwhelmingly it's men, sometimes not, we can do better to apply it effectively. And I think if this shows anything, this event today, it shows that time, the passage of time has not resulted in stress fractures between us that are delaying or slowing down the march for justice. I think that is something we need to be resolute to make sure we get to the destination and we take the law off the page and we deliver for those that really are looking to the international community, looking to national authorities of Ukraine for less talk and more action. And I think that ultimately will define how successful our joint and individual and several efforts are to make sure that the law is seen relevant at this moment of crisis. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Karim, for your powerful statement. And let me now, as we have touched upon the reasons for setting up the ICPA, let me now devote a few words about how it will function in practice. Over the past 20 years, Eurojust has built up a very solid track record in providing operational, technical, logistical and financial support to national prosecutors working on cross-border cases. From the very beginning of the war in Ukraine, the same support has served to coordinate and strengthen national investigations into international crimes committed in Ukraine. With the International Center for the Prosecution of the Crime of Aggression, we are taking our contribution to the accountability efforts to the next level. Based on Eurojust's existing mandate, we are setting up a truly unique international cooperation platform without any precedent in legal history. The ICPA will support national investigators and prosecutors from Ukraine and 4 EU member states that are investigating the crime of aggression. They will be working on a full-time or part-time basis from these premises here, where they will benefit from our state-of-the-art analytical, legal, financial and logistical support. As was already mentioned, the key purpose of the International Center for the Prosecution of the Crime of Aggression is to secure crucial evidence and facilitate the process of case building at an early stage. Our groundbreaking core international crime evidence database will therefore play an important role in facilitating the ICPA's work. Evidence submitted to this database in the context of other international crimes might be equally relevant for investigation into the crime of aggression. ICPA participants will also be able to bring in evidence to the database for further analysis. Eurojust in-house legal experts will advise on issues related to admissibility of evidence that was collected abroad. Meanwhile, our analysts will advise on possible evidentiary gaps to ensure that the aggression case is built on a very solid foundation. It's also important to know that evidence and other relevant documents will be translated into both Ukrainian and English to ensure that they can be used before different national jurisdictions as well as international courts. The ICPA may be an initiative of the European Union, but in practice, it will be a truly global effort. The world's leading experts in international law will provide their knowledge and expertise during different stages of the investigations. The ICC's unparalleled expertise in prosecuting international crimes will be critical for the success of the ICPA. We also welcome the decision of the United States to be represented by the newly appointed Special Prosecutor for the crime of aggression. Thank you so much. Other countries and organizations, such as EU Advisory Mission to Ukraine, are expected to join in the coming months. Distinguished guests, for many years, Eurojust has been a reliable partner for national investigators and prosecutors dealing with complex cross-border cases. We are truly honored for now being entrusted with a new responsibility, the responsibility of supporting the investigation into the crime of aggression against Ukraine, and determined to make justice prevail. As Commissioner Reynders stated earlier, this requires a joint and comprehensive approach. Against this background, I now gladly pass the floor to Assistant Attorney General Kenneth Pollitt, not yet, to tell us more about the international support to the ICPA.
Good morning to my friends and colleagues. It's an honor to be here with you today. And it's great to be back here at Eurojust to see so many familiar faces once again and to be amongst such great and strong partners. For those of you who have not had the opportunity to meet, my name is Kenneth Pollitt. I have the great honor and distinction of serving as the Assistant Attorney General for the Criminal Division at the U.S. Department of Justice. And the Justice Department is proud to stand with Ukraine and our EU partners in supporting the establishment of this center. Congratulations to all of you assembled, in person and abroad, who made this day a reality. It is truly remarkable that you were able to develop the concept of this center and, most importantly, to operationalize it in a matter of mere months. It shows what can be done when we have talented, dedicated individuals who are committed to addressing an urgent world crisis. In particular, I want to thank the Eurojust College and the members of the Ukraine Joint Investigative Team for supporting our inclusion in the center. Now, for those of you who have not had the opportunity to meet her, I would like to take this time to introduce you to Jessica Kim. Jessica, if you could raise your hand. The Justice Department's newly appointed U.S. Special Prosecutor for the crime of aggression and our representative to the center. Special Prosecutor Kim has a strong, successful record of investigating and prosecuting complex crimes. She is an accomplished and experienced federal prosecutor. She also has significant international experience in the Eastern European region, having previously served as the department's resident legal advisor at our U.S. embassies in Bulgaria, Romania, and Slovakia. I am proud to call Jessica a trusted advisor, colleague, and friend, and she will be able to assist the center by tapping into the substantial body of expertise and resources that the department has amassed in response to Russia's unlawful war of aggression against the people of Ukraine. Now, allow me to reflect on the fact that the U.S. has a long and a successful track record of supporting international justice mechanisms. Former U.S. Attorney General Robert H. Jackson played the leading role in introducing the crime of aggression, then called Crimes Against Peace, to our world jurisprudence at the International Nuremberg Trial of Former Nazi Leaders after World War II. And indeed, one of my own distinguished predecessors in my current role, former Assistant Attorney General Joseph Keenan, served as Chief Prosecutor for the International Military Tribunal for the Far East, where he also charged and proved the crime of aggression. The ICPA is the most recent addition to the ecosystem for investigating and prosecuting atrocity crimes committed in Ukraine. This center complements other domestic, regional, and international efforts to promote accountability and to combat impunity. Now, just 2 weeks ago, our Attorney General Merrick Garland visited The Hague so that he could see firsthand the robust response to Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine by our Dutch partners and at Eurojust, Europol, and the International Criminal Court. Indeed, the first Attorney General to visit the ICC. During his visit here, in addition to introducing our special prosecutor, the Attorney General pledged that the United States would contribute to Eurojust's core international crimes evidence database. And within 1 week of that pledge, the U.S. has made its initial contribution to the database, and it will not be our last. Today, we honor the launch of the center. Tomorrow, we roll up our sleeves and get back to work, and together we will pursue justice no matter how long it takes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kenneth. I would like to, on behalf of Eurojust, welcome Jessica. We are very pleased that you are with us, and we are looking forward to our continued cooperation. Kenneth, you also mentioned and you acknowledged the huge work of the College of Eurojust and also our colleagues from administration working very hard to make this happen. And while I received many credits, I have to immediately say that without College of Eurojust and without colleagues from the administration, we wouldn't be here today. So I really truly feel that this is a really truly team effort and a joint achievement of all those who believe in international justice and who believe that the crime of aggression doesn't belong anymore to 21st century. And having said that, I'm passing now the floor to our dear Commissioner Reynders for closing remarks.
Thank you, Chair. And I want first of all to thank all the speakers, but also all of you for the participation to the launch event of today. And it's very important to see such a lot of different institutions around the table able to work together in the same way. And with the setup of the ICPA, the European Union and its partners have reiterated their commitment to ensuring full accountability for the international crimes committed during Russia's war against Ukraine, including the crime of aggression. Within the ICPA, we can already prepare the ground to ensure that those responsible for the crime of aggression against Ukraine can be held responsible in the future. At the same time, today's event gives a clear signal to the world that the prohibition of the use of force continues to be the foundation of our international rule-based order, and that those who violate it will be held accountable. The swift setup of the ICPA shows what results we can achieve when we work together. Therefore, I call on all of us to move forward towards finding a common solution when it comes to the appropriate mechanism to prosecute the crime of aggression against Ukraine. Looking ahead, we should work together towards ensuring that in the future, the crime of aggression can be prosecuted before the International Criminal Court, specifically established to prosecute the more serious crimes. I'm convinced that it is our role as an international community to bring those responsible for these atrocities to justice and to ensure full accountability. I count on your full support moving forward. We have a responsibility for all the citizens of Ukraine, but also for all the citizens of the rest of the world, to show that we will continue to work together again to bring perpetrators of international crimes before justice. Our task, and certainly my task as Commissioner for Justice, is not to say who is guilty or not. It's just to give all the necessary tools to the prosecutors to do their job and to the judge in a future trial to decide about who is guilty with what kind of accountability. But please continue to work on this together and we'll achieve such a result. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner. We will definitely do so. And again, I would like to thank all speakers for being here with us today. And I would like to also thank all other partners present in the room for their support, for their collaboration, and for their determination. Ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the end of this official launch, and the press conference will start in about 15 minutes, 11:15. You are most welcome to stay in this room where you can follow it on screen. Before we say goodbye to you, I would like just to remind you that at 12 o'clock there will be a test of emergency alarm. So please don't be scared. I just wanted to make sure that you are not surprised. So it will be coming, but no emergency, we do hope. So thank you so much, and we're looking forward to our future cooperation. Thank you so much.